Mulder, have you noticed that we're on television?
I don't think it's live television, Scully. She just said.
But it's a camera, and it's recording. It's recording everything that you are saying. Do you understand that? I just want to make sure that you're clear on that.
I'm clear on that, Scully.
My point being, Mulder, that we are on a case.
Yeah, this presents an opportunity. I feel we're very close here, and the possibility of capturing concrete proof of the paranormal, of a werewolf in front of a national audience, even an international audience, what's not to love?
Welcome to Gimmicks, a podcast about the high-concept, experimental, structure-breaking gimmick episodes of TV, from musicals to bottle episodes to a stylistic crossover between two of a network's most influential but very different long-running shows. I'm Derek B. Gale.
And the FBI has nothing to hide. I'm David Arnold, and who is with us here today?
David and Derek, have you ever heard of a throws file across the desk crossover episode? It's me.
Yes.
Tyler from Fear Coded.
Tyler, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, Fear-Coded crossover for X-Files crossover, because this episode, we're talking about the X-Files and the episode X-Cops.
If you are not familiar with the X-Files, it is a very influential and long-running science fiction supernatural drama that originally aired on the Fox network from 1993 to 2002 for 9 seasons, had 2 theatrical films of good and okay quality, and then was revived for an additional 2 seasons in 2016 through 2018. It follows FBI agents Fox Mulder and Dr. Dana Scully, an archetypical believer and skeptic, respectively, who investigate paranormal cases across the country while unraveling an alien government conspiracy, and solidified the semi-serialized blueprint for MythArc versus Monster of the Week standalone episodes in television. And if you are not familiar with the television series Cops,
Oh boy.
it is also an influential and long-running documentary/reality show series that originally ran on the Fox network from 1989 through 2013. It is the longest-running live-action series to ever air on Fox, and the longest Fox series in general, second only to The Simpsons.
Of course.
In 2013, it moved to Spike TV and then the Paramount Network. We'll talk about why. And currently it is on the ultra-conservative Fox Nation video-on-demand service that's a companion to Fox News.
This has never not been running somewhere since 1989.
That is true.
That's upsetting.
That is true.
Oh, this episode's going to have things that are upsetting to
What?
talk about? Really?
I'm going to be reminded that all cops are bastards in this episode?
But these cops, for this series, it does follow the lives of various law enforcement officers, all real life, including folks who are responding to issues on patrol, while they are on calls, and while they are doing arrests as in the course of their work. So let's start with the fun part of the lollipop, and that is, what are the experiences of all 3 of us with the X-Files? Tyler, let's start with you.
So we've talked about this a little bit on Fear Coded, but I watched the X-Files a bit back in the 90s when it was first airing. I would catch reruns on the FX channel, which I think was still kind of newish in the late 90s, early 2000s. I have a very vivid memory of trying to watch an episode of the X-Files on 9/11, but it was preempted by 9/11 coverage on FX. And then somewhere along the way, I kind of lost track of the X-Files. And then I didn't really get back into it until I hit my 20s, and then I would watch an episode here and there. I've started and stopped multiple rewatches of the show just because of who I am as a person. But it's still a show that I had near and dear to my heart. I was really into it back in the 90s. I remember having a VHS copy of the first movie, and watching it in an office in my dad's work when it was just him over the weekend.
Oh, wow.
And just kind of playing around and having this on. And I remember John Locke, being at the bottom of a building when it was going to explode. Yeah.
Yep.
Terry O'Quinn.
Yes,
Yeah,
Terry
he just shows
O'Quinn.
up everywhere. I love him.
Same.
And Derek, we've covered X-Files before, but it was a long time ago here on Gimmicks. So what's your history with X-Files?
Yeah, I love X-Files. It's one of my faves, baby. It's so good. I watched it when it was airing as a kid. My parents were really into it. It was always really unusual because my dad was a big sci-fi person,
Right.
so it's not a surprise that he was into it. My mom wasn't always, and she was also really into it.
Oh,
so it was very
wow.
cool to have like a family watching the X-Files. But I think the result was that even though I was sort of like of the age that would be like watching X-Files and getting scared of it and everything like that, I still very much associate it with like, but that's like my parents' show. It's not my show. So I think that kept me from like really rewatching it a lot. But there were definitely episodes that stuck with me. There was like one of my college classes, like we actually talked about the episode Bad Blood in one
Nice.
specifically, because of like the sort of lore and everything, which is the episode we covered on Gimmicks a few years ago. So it's always been a show that's in my orbit that I would like watch random episodes of. But it wasn't until after we covered it on Gimmicks actually that I was sort of like, there's patches of X-Files that I've never seen before, or stuff that I don't remember, and stuff that will be recontextualized watching it now. So it was pretty soon after we covered that on Gimmicks back in like 2022. And then I think in 2023, I was just like, I'm just going to watch through all of it. And I did watch through all of it, and it is so rewarding and such a great watch. And like for the most part holds up so well, and the stuff that doesn't hold up well is still like so interesting and interesting time capsules. And like bad X-Files is still some of the most like fun, interesting, still like kind of well-made television, even at its worst. And yeah, it's just, it's so great. And it like really bumped up to just being like, no, this is one of my favorite TV shows that I've just kind of delayed like really diving super deeply into for way too long. And it's great. I love it. I do also love the movie a lot. I have the VHS tape right over there. I can bring it over for show and tell after we're done recording. But like the first movie is like so near and dear to my heart too. It's such a great movie.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, because I watched it recently. God, doesn't it just look fantastic? They gave them money great. And it looks so good.
It's really incredible. It is kind of like, if like the show always looks cinematic. I think that was a big reason why it hit so well with people at the time, that it's like, it looked like nothing else on TV at the time. You watch it now and it's sort of like, yeah, it looks like a good TV show, but like, it's the one that was sort of like, no, a television show, even like a paranormal horror show, can like look and really good and be filmed very artistically, filmed at high quality. Like it is a good looking show, and the movie just amplifies that exponentially.
Yeah. The movie is so good. Oh, I'm glad we got to talk about it. It's great. Okay, so I know I've talked about this before, but like this is part of my origin story with Gimmicks. I was looking for a Sliders podcast, couldn't find one. Found Derek is like one of the only people who talked about Sliders in the podcast universe. And then I looked through the rest of the Gimmicks catalog, and of course jumped to the X-Files episode and had just an absolute blast listening to you and Marilee talk about Bad Blood. I've always been a big fan of the X-Files. Like Derek, my parents were really into it. My dad had a thing for Scully, and you know what? He's made some bad choices, but this was a great one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we watched it whenever it would come on. I grew up with it. When I was in college, my freshman year, I didn't go home for Thanksgiving. I went to the grocery store and got a frozen meal, and there was an FX marathon of the X-Files. And frankly, it's the best Thanksgiving I've ever had in my entire life.
Thankfully not preempted by 9/11 coverage on Thanksgiving.
That is true. My college, on the other hand, was preempted by 9/11 coverage. My professor literally said, go watch CNN. It is better than what I can do teaching you. And which I said, I think you could do better. Yeah, I know. I love this. I still, unfortunately, fake fan alert, I have not watched the reboot seasons because I like committed to myself, I'm going to start from the beginning and get all the way there. Sure. And that was a mistake. I should have just started with 9 and 10.
I mean, they're very short.
Yeah.
And they're the high highs, lowest of lows. It's not amazing, but there's some really, really, really good episodes that they do in there. Like season 11 especially is like a good short season of the X-Files, even if I think it ends on a horrendously bad note in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, but that's just the story of X-Files. It's just like, are you going to get one of the best pieces of television you've ever seen in your life? Or are you going to just get like offensive, horrible garbage trash that you're only there because you are in love with Gillian Anderson?
Yeah, well, truly.
Like, it's one or the other, and it's fine either way. That's what makes it so great.
So true.
Scully was also, I think, really importantly for me, Scully was the kind of character that you could say you had a crush on if you were gay and hadn't come out yet.
Yes. Absolutely.
And little did I know that was even more revealing than just saying that I was attracted to men.
Right.
Katie Couric was my other one. So just like the deck was stacked against me.
There you go, man. Oh my God. Yep.
I like her. Yep. I like a short-haired redhead. What do we got here?
Oh, well, David, please.
Now, that was all very interesting, but what is your experience with Cops?
Like the concept and the people, or
yeah, the very nature of policing in a community. No. The reality television series Cops.
I have very early memories of my grandparents watching Cops, which feels correct. I don't think my parents ever watched it, but it would like I mostly remember it being in syndication or like reruns like on the Fox channel, but it was like the syndicated Fox channels. So like the 6 o'clock. So before the news, we're going to show Cops kind of deal. But I personally never watched it.
Sure.
Well, you've never seen an episode?
I've never seen an episode, no. I'm familiar with the concept of Cops, but I've never seen an episode.
That is fascinating, though, because I do think it was a little bit kind of inescapable. Like, I feel, but I think it's the kind of show where, like, you don't have to have seen an episode to, like, get it, because it was parodied so much and you saw so many commercials for it.
Yeah.
And, like, it was so easy to catch, like, the beginning or end of it because it was running so much
constantly
at the time. Like, I think we're going to talk about it, but, like, I wonder if, like, younger people now know how big of a phenomenon a reality show called Cops that followed Cops was in the 90s and how big of a hit it was for Fox, because it was really, like, that was my experience. Was like, I don't know that I ever sat down being like, I'm committed to watching this episode of Cops right now, but I feel like I saw a shit ton of them because it was always on the Fox network, which is a network I watched a lot in the 90s, you know?
I think, because I won't talk a ton about the syndication of it, we can talk a little bit right now, but I do think your market made a really big difference in how much this was inescapable.
Yeah, sure. It was definitely where I was in my market, that's for sure.
Same in the Midwest, because this was on all the time. And we gave my father credit for having a crush on Gillian Anderson earlier, but I must also say my dad loved Cops. He would quote it while we drove around. He would pretend to be an officer giving a testimonial while driving in Michigan. And
it's like a little bit evil, but also kind of cute.
It's kind of cute.
Yeah, totally. 100%. Nailed it.
I don't know if it's better or worse for you to hear this part, but he was pretty high most of the time when he was driving. So there was like a type of irony to it as well.
Sure.
Maybe a very diabolical one in that he was white. So
a lot of those cops were probably high on Cops too. So
well.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so he loved it. He was a huge fan of the Inner Circle song Bad Boys. He went and saw the film Bad Boys, which I don't think was his cup of tea, because he thought that it would be like the show Cops.
Oh, that's kind of cute. Yeah. Like, I know it's like a little bit evil, but also kind of cute.
Yeah, he's, now in retrospect, it was really, really adorable. I think at the time I was like, shut the fuck up.
It feels very like peak 90s dad behavior. Yeah. I will say that much.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think he would talk into his pack of Newports to like it was a officer's radio. That was his prop.
I don't mean any offense to be calling your dad evil, by the way. I mean just sort of the app with engaging in cop culture in that way. And that's not even his fault. That is just, again, the phenomenon of this show and the way it was presented. I think that's a big part of the conversation for this episode, is like just like this, like, if you want to see like propaganda, like, this is like the embodiment of that. Plenty of things you can have conversations about if it really applies, and like, is it actually, criticizing the institution, stuff like that. Cops was sort of like, cops are great. They're your protagonists. They're your heroes in real life. And look at all these fucking like motherfuckers and terrible people that they are arresting, and you should cheer for them being arrested.
Exactly.
Like, that's what Cops was.
It's right in the theme song.
It's right in the theme song.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
What are you going to do when they come for you?
Yeah.
I'm now having vivid memories of my grandma singing that song to me when I was like 6 or 7 years old.
Were you being a bad boy?
I don't think so. I think maybe it was the threat that I could that if I misbehaved, they were going to come for me, which explains so much now that I say that.
I would love it if it was in fact your grandma doing like a lullaby version to you as like an infant. So I was a little crushed when you said 6.
It kind of was though, the way she would do it. She would do it kind of like cutesy, baby talky sort of thing. So it's like there's many layers going on here, and I'm not paying either of you to be my therapist. So
That's true. Well, then let's talk a little bit about the X-Files, how it came to be, and then how this episode that put these two juggernauts together was birthed. So this series was created by Chris Carter, a name that I feel like I know really well, but I think it's because I'm a fan of the X-Files.
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
The X-Files is the thing that he has done.
Well,
that's the thing.
And lots of times when I do this for the podcast, I look somebody up, I find these cool things that they're involved with, and like, nope. Spoiler alert for Chris Carter.
The thing is, the more you learn about Chris Carter, it's sort of like, it's not that he's an amazing writer. It's that like he is a mediocre to maybe bad writer that had some of the best ideas of all time.
And
that's Chris Carter.
Absolutely.
And met Vince Gilligan. Like we will get
goodness.
there.
Lord and Savior Vince Gilligan.
But Chris Carter gets his start writing for Surfing magazine, where he becomes the editor. And when I read this, I thought, this is impossible. The man who made the X-Files is deep into surfing culture. And then I want you to picture Chris Carter in your mind. And like, yes, that man surfs. Like, that hair has been on a surfboard. He gets hired by Disney Studios' Jeffrey Katzenberg to write television films, which earns him a reputation writing comedy for young audiences. And Chris Carter is a serious dramatist. So he wants to get as far away from this as possible. And he sort of bails on that when his contract is up. He gets hired by Brandon Tartikoff at NBC, and he writes a bunch of unproduced pilots that all, more implausible than the last, seem to be a factory of joke 30 Rock sitcoms, like a television show called Copter Cop that is about the police officer who rides in the helicopter.
You know...
Oh,
on the name alone,
Copter Cop,
I'm sold.
If his
the concept, no, but the name itself, pretty genius.
Now, if he had a copter for a hand, I'm there. If this is like an Inspector Gadget thing,
sure,
I'm sold.
There you go.
He also writes a show about surfing called Cool Culture.
Okay. Less good name, but sure.
It's not very good. It doesn't get made, but it gets him the attention of Peter Roth, who was then working for CBS. And he's like, this guy's smart. They're not using any of his stuff. I'm going to get him over to CBS. They have one meeting. Carter's into it. And then Roth instantly gets headhunted to join the brand new Fox network. Oh. And so he's like, listen, you can't get the CBS job if I'm not here, but do you want to come to Fox?
Wow.
Yeah.
Carter writes and pitches the X-Files, and Fox is like, no, thank you. Go away. And Roth is convinced, so Roth works with him. They sit down, they retool it, they come back, and it gets greenlit. And that is obviously how the X-Files comes to be.
Yeah. I think it makes sense when you think about it, because like up to that point, like the sort of framework I think probably Carter was working on was like Kolchak, Night Stalker, and it's like, and shows like that, which were shows that like I think in retro like were not huge hits. Like they're influential, but they weren't huge hits. And like we're always kind of culty things. So if you're a TV network, it's sort of like you're like kind of horror paranormal stuff. Like that stuff just clearly doesn't work on TV, which I think is why X-Files made such a big splash.
Right.
When it actually is like, no, we can do a show that is genuinely scary, and maybe for the first time on television, an actually truly genuinely scary show that is also well made and respected. Like that's a big reason why X-Files hit so big.
Yeah, exactly. Carter, of course, is with X-Files for its run. He does create and is part of the spin-off series, The Lone Gunman. But also in the middle of it, he makes the show Millennium, which is on Derek's and I's list, but I don't have a ton of like connection to.
Tiny bit of experience with it. I've been meaning to watch through all of it because I know it's a really interesting show for some of the changes that it goes through over its like 3 seasons, and the fact that like this very season of X-Files has like a sort of post-series crossover finale with Millennium in an interesting way. So like that stuff is always really interesting, but I have not watched enough of it to.
And he also kind of does like a weird maneuver that we haven't seen for Carter's other work, where he like starts it and then hands it over.
Which he should do more. He should have done. He should do more of.
Yeah,
I think.
listen.
I really hope like the Ryan Coogler X-Files like reboot remake that's happening right now. I know that Chris Carter is like his name is on it, but I really hope it's in like the most creative consultant, executive producer capacity where he's not actually doing anything creative. Cause like the only reason I'm in any way excited for that reboot is because Ryan Coogler is doing it.
Agreed.
And that maybe Chris Carter is just can be away from it.
He's got the name recognition. That's really all we kind of need from him.
Exactly.
And then he can go surf.
Exactly.
I mean, you say he's got the name recognition, that's all we need, but he was on this Amazon show, and boy, everything about it is like from the creator of the X-Files, and that was a big flop on Amazon.
But so was like, I remember like Harsh Realm was the same way.
Yes.
Like anything that he's tried to do that isn't X-Files, no one's here for it because again, he created this amazing show. He does deserve all the credit in the world for that. It was a banger idea. And there's a lot of elements of X-Files that are 1000% from him. Like he is good at what he does in creating stuff, but I don't think he's like he unfortunately is not a very good writer. And I think you see that in everything else when he doesn't have a great staff backing him.
Yeah.
Like he's not very good at developing those ideas from ideas. I think is that, and that's kind of the story of X-Files. Most of the ones that are penned by him are not the good episodes.
Yeah. It's hard because I think it is his heart. Maybe he like watched Norman Lear and he was like, I could do this. Like I could make little shows all over the place. And like, you got one and it, frankly, changed a generation.
Oh yeah. Changed television.
Deeply important figure and important show. Like don't want to understand how important Chris Carter is, but that's it.
You got it.
Stops there.
You made your impact. Go surf.
Right. You made your major impact on the world. That's enough.
Well, we are here to talk about one very specific part of that impact, and that is the season 7, episode 12, titled X Cops.
Sunday.
Run! To the car! Back to the car now!
The X-Files team up with cops to track down a deadly predator.
And that glowing red eyes and claws.
Can I see your badge again?
It's the most daring episode yet.
I need backup! 500 block of press!
The X-Files, all new at 9/8 Central Fox Sunday.
The original air date for this episode is February 20th, 2000. The synopsis per IMDb is, the investigation of a neighborhood monster isn't too weird for the crew of cops, 1989, to follow around Mulder and Scully.
The 1989 took me out a little bit on this one.
We've gone back into the 80s.
Well, I thought like, is this supposed to be like a time-stamped episode? And like, no, this is contemporary. This is just normal.
It's just saying that it's the name of the show.
show.
Because there's been other shows that have been called Cops.
Yeah, there have. I will tell you from the research.
That's all. Yeah. So this episode was written by Vince Gilligan, a name I think is that people are in TV are very familiar with at this point. Gilligan joined the X-Files in season 2, penning the episode Soft Light, which I think is the Tony Shalhoub episode, right?
Yep.
I believe. Yeah, which is a pretty fun Monster of the Week episode. And I think he immediately is like recognized for being a really solid writer. Goes on to write 29 episodes. He co-creates the short-lived spinoff The Lone Gunman. Don't hold that against him. A lot of the best episodes of X-Files are written by Vince Gilligan, and he is part of regular staff, so even episodes that aren't written by him, he has a lot of influence on them and helps with generating ideas and rewrites and stuff like that. So a genuinely really, really major part of this show throughout the majority of its run. Obviously, after X-Files, he becomes very, very well known for creating Breaking Bad and its spinoff Better Call Saul. Currently, he created Pluribus, which is also a big hit now. So in terms of like genre television, he's really got it in the bag. Yeah. What I think is interesting, we'll talk about it, but like this episode was one that he pitched way back in season 4. So like this episode is his baby. It was rejected because Chris Carter at the time said he thought it was too goofy. And this is back in season 4 when like they are dabbling in high concept stuff, but it's a really serious period.
It's a very serious period.
They're not doing as many comedy things that period. That's like the height of like the Scully cancer arc and stuff like that. Like I understand why they feel like it wouldn't be a good time to do this episode. We'll talk about it. Season 7, goofier period for the show. Also, Gilligan was thinking about these types of episodes throughout all of it. I don't know exactly where this lies in the timeline, but there was also a similar X-Files episode that he was developing that would have been an Unsolved Mysteries crossover episode. Where it would have had Robert Stack narrating and hosting it like an episode of Unsolved Mysteries, and even having reenactments of the X-Files episode with different actors playing Mulder and Scully.
Like a fake Mulder and Scully. Oh,
yeah.
That would have been
so
so
he
cool.
really, I think, was really zoned in on the idea of like a sort of true crime reality TV type riff with these characters, which makes a lot of sense. They're in like a law enforcement agency, right? Like it makes sense to cross that over. And this is the one that eventually makes it through.
Wow.
Well, the Unsolved Mysteries does sound like a banger, so I am bummed we did not get that. I do love this episode.
I do too.
Yeah, for sure. The episode was directed by Michael W. Watkins. He directed 4 episodes of Lois and Clark and an episode of Millennium before being tapped for X-Files. So right in the genre sphere. He directs this episode and 4 other episodes of the X-Files. After that, he goes on to 2 episodes of Smallville before a big stretch of episodes on The Blacklist.
Yeah.
So he's tapping a lot of major network and genre shows. Interestingly, before becoming a director, he was a director of photography for seasons 2 to 4 and half of season 5 of Quantum Leap, where he wins 2 where he wins 2 Emmys for cinematography for Quantum Leap, which is
Holy
really
shit,
cool.
that's awesome.
And I tried to figure out, like, was those Emmy wins part of why he got tapped for this, which is sort of like a different type of using the camera. There's nothing about that. But so I think we have to make that leap, and I feel comfortable making that quantum leap.
Oh Lord. No, well, I looked into like more information about like the making of this episode, and like there were concerns about like, oh, how do we capture this on videotape and make sure it's still scary, because that was one of the reasons why they liked using film, was that it helped make everything look really scary when they wanted it to look scary. And I think having someone who is really gifted with cinematography and knows how to frame and film a scene, I think that is definitely, like, David, I think you were kind of joking, but I think you're kind of on point, that they were like, we need to get someone who is really good at knowing how to point and shoot the camera and direct that. And I think that's absolutely why they got him.
Yes.
Yeah, there is a challenge in like verisimilitude with something like this, because like actually, you know, filming a reality show is one thing because you are filming things that are like you're just filming as it happens, but like to make it look like you're just filming things as it happens on the first take, when you've had many takes and many rehearsals and are following a script, like that is way more challenging than I think you could ever imagine it to
Oh
be,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And just given 2000, like we're in an era of reality television, but we're not in this era of reality television where there are just people who are good at house style. There are people who are just good at housewives house style. And that doesn't exist in 2000.
No, not at all. It's still early days for reality.
Isn't that
TV.
wild? It's weird for me seeing 1989 and the Cops, because I don't think about reality TV being big in 1989, and yet Cops was big.
Yeah. Well, and we weren't calling it that. I mean, it was like a documentary show.
Mm-hmm.
Like we didn't even really I don't think we coined the term reality TV until much later.
Well, let's talk about the cast, because these are real people outside of some folks everyone's real people, David.
I don't know. Sometimes I wonder about David Duchovny if he actually is like an actual human being.
Yeah, so there are actually some real officers, and we'll give a little bit of time to that later, but most of these folks are actors who have been brought on to portray roles. And we do have our main cast here. So David Duchovny plays Fox Mulder. Prior to the X-Files, he had appeared on films. Famously was on Red Shoe Diaries, both the film and the follow-up television show. He is one of the antagonists in Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. He was in The Rapture. And on television, he was in Twin Peaks. Whether or not that has aged well, I will find out when I eventually watch Twin Peaks, and then Red Shoe Diaries. He is then cast as Fox Mulder, and he appears in 191 episodes through the original run and the reboot. Famously, he's not in everything. We will get to a little bit of that in a second.
Yeah.
After The X-Files, he's cast as the lead in Californication for 7 seasons and 84 episodes, and he is also cast as the lead in Aquarius for 2 seasons, 26 episodes.
Nice.
Still working today.
Yeah. I will say, yes, it does hold up his role in Twin Peaks and in Twin Peaks The Return.
Yes.
It's a really
that makes me very
beautiful.
happy. That makes me
like,
very happy.
obviously, it's a cis actor playing a trans character, but for the early 90s and for the character that Duchovny is playing, it's beautifully done.
Absolutely, yeah.
Duchovny's always been like queer friendly. I mean, Californication's his character is a dirtbag, but he was very creatively supportive of queer characters and writing and storylines. But Californication is about a terrible person, so you're not meant to root for the protagonist.
Yeah, for sure.
I was surprised this was after X-Files started, but his stint on the Gary Shandling show, where he has a secret crush on Gary Shandling, is after the X-Files begins. And it's pretty wild. If you have never watched Gary Shandling, he is gay for Gary Shandling.
It's a great show, too.
That's incredible. Yeah, that's really cool. I think we can talk about this now because this is all about David Duchovny in this point. But like, I think David Duchovny is a major factor in this era of the X-Files and why it is the way that it is. Like season 7, which I have a lot of strong feelings about. I don't like this season. I think this season is like a really bad season of the show. And a big reason for that is that David Duchovny was embroiled in a lawsuit against 20th Century Fox throughout this entire season. He filed it in 1999, right near the top of the season. Basically, he was alleging that the company had cheated him out of millions of dollars that he was owed because of the massive success of the show. Duchovny didn't sue Chris Carter, but he did allege in the lawsuit that Carter conspired with Fox to keep the profits from Duchovny. Whether you believe that or not necessarily, that does mean that there is inevitably going to be some level of bad blood.
Yeah.
And like all of this sort of, I think, really contributed in part to Duchovny leaving the show at the end of the season. I think that he was already sort of like, I've been on this show for 7 years. I want to do movies and other stuff.
Yes.
I'm bored with it. But he does leave at the end of the season in a regular capacity. I think you can also argue, in my opinion, that he's kind of phoning in a lot of the season in. Big problem I have with the season is that this is a season of TV that is very complacent with just like, it's like, you've got Mulder and Scully investigating cases. It doesn't matter if it's interesting. And David Duchovny is just sleepwalking through the whole thing. This episode, I do think is one of the exceptions,
Agreed.
which is why it's so good.
Yeah.
But I don't like the season, and I think it's always a bummer that people like clown on season 8 because that's the season without Mulder that Robert Patrick enters. That season is such a breath of fresh air from this one. It's great. So good put up against it's a creative resurgence. Everyone is so excited and there's so much energy that season, and there's actually like well-written stories. This season, few good episodes. Most of it I think is either very bland or just sucks. Yeah. But my strong feelings about it. But anyway, all of that I think is important for this episode because between Duchovny looking to leave and the whole lawsuit and like declining ratings, the ratings were still good, but they were less than the phenomenon the show had been. It was widely believed that season 7 would be the show's last, which is not unusual. Season 7 is a long run for any show.
Great time to call it quits if you're not doing well anymore, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And, and a lot of people argue like the show's kind of on, running on fumes at this point and kind of done what it needs to do. How long is Scully going to be in the dark, right? Another reason why I like season 8, because she's not anymore.
She's not.
All of that does mean that like a lot of ideas that have been floating around throughout the entire run of the show were like, well, if this is our last season, we'll do it. So like, this season resolves the mystery of Mulder's sister, for example, but that also means like old Monster of the Week concepts actually get made, which is why Vince Gilligan's season 4 idea for a cops crossover happens this season because they're sort of like, I don't know, man, why not?
Why not?
Who gives a shit?
Why
It seems like
not?
we're going to end anyway.
Yeah.
So that's why they finally do it. So David Duchovny filing a lawsuit is actually kind of in part responsible for this episode getting made at all.
Do you remember what happened with that lawsuit? I should have looked this up.
It got settled. I think they settled it in 2000.
Because
I'm sure that I don't think there was a winner. I think it was a settlement and he made some money and it was fine.
And I think this is a Mad Libs. Blank sued Fox because Fox had bad business practices. I do feel like that probably was true.
Oh yeah.
And obviously any interpersonal stuff got resolved because Duchovny still came back to everything after that.
Yeah,
so
And he still speaks very highly of the X-Files.
I even remember that being kind of up in the air, like when they were coming back with the second movie, they were just like, well, is David Duchovny going to come back? Because he had those issues with Carter and Fox, and lo and behold, history is past.
Right.
But it worked out.
Yeah. And I think he sees the dollar signs with X-Files and is like, that's fine. I'll keep coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll buy me another house.
I really watched one of those
Exactly.
press junket things that he was on with some other actors, and he was like, "Oh no, my co-star knows everything about the X-Files. I know nothing about it. I loved doing it, but I don't have the shows memorized or anything. Like this young millennial does."
That's so funny.
Well, opposite of Duchovny, we have Gillian Anderson playing Dana Scully. Her sort of path to the X-Files is sort of fun for me to discover. I didn't really think about Gillian Anderson before the X-Files, and that's because there wasn't a lot of her out in the world. She moved to New York after having like a sort of turbulent childhood. She moves to New York to do theater, has fun doing it, but wants to sort of try other things. So in 1992, she moves to Los Angeles. She spends a year auditioning, and she appears in a feature called The Turning. I did not watch that, but she does get a gig from auditioning, and she has a guest appearance on Class of 96, the series on Fox, the 1-season series.
Oh God, that show that has like 1 million people on it. Yeah.
Yes. Class of 96, Tyler, if you're not familiar with it, or listeners, if you're not familiar with it.
Fascinating show.
It is so fascinating because all of the leads, no offense leads, they're kind of nobodies. But the guest stars are wildly stacked. Matt LeBlanc had his start on that. John Cameron Mitchell, who's Hedwig of the Angry Itch, started there. Julie Bowen's first television appearance was Class of 96.
Holy shit.
Robin Turney's first appearance. It is like the who's who of who will go on to be huge, but they're all guest cast in the show.
It's like this weird, like someone put a curse on that on like the people who worked on that show, where it's sort of like, if you are starring on this show, you will be no one, and you will see everyone else who appeared on set that was supposed to be there for one episode rise to immense fame while you'll become a
Oh
nobody.
my God.
Like, it feels like it was an intentional like curse.
The
put on
monkey's
that.
paw of television.
Truly,
Yeah.
it's so wild.
Yeah.
And every time it shows up in research, I continue to gag about it because it's just like, how is it possible? How do we get this lucky? Like what I'll do, because we're going to cover Modern Family soon, I'll look up who the casting director was, because that person needs like a moment of shine in the world.
Seriously. Yeah.
But then Anderson gets her audition for Scully. This is like famous, but Fox executives want someone sexier.
Imagine they wanted Pamela Anderson, I think at one point was the name.
Oh my God.
So you kind of understand what they're going for when they say sexier.
Yeah.
Like Gillian Anderson is one of the sexiest women alive, but she was very, very young at the time. I think what they wanted was someone busty.
Yes.
They were looking for a Baywatch babe.
Right.
Pamela Anderson, I love her. She's wonderful, but like it's a very different type they were looking for, which is the wrong direction for this character.
Agreed.
Especially because the idea was like, oh, we want like a Clarice Starling type from Silence of the Lambs to be in this, and it's like, well, are you looking for a Jodie Foster type of actress, or are you looking for Pamela Anderson? That's crazy.
Right. Pamela Anderson, amazing in like
truly.
the new Naked Gun,
Yes.
especially. She's so good. Her in the X-Files would have been
worked.
It would have been the death knell of this
For
show.
sure, yeah.
It would not have worked.
And I think Carter was looking for Clarice Starling. I'm not sure Fox executives were looking for Clarice Starling.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because Carter wanted Anderson, and he had to be part of the fight to get her a second audition and she can be considered, and then eventually, obviously, is cast as Scully.
Weirdly, I thought you were still talking about Pamela Anderson when you said that.
Oh, sorry.
And I was like, wait a minute.
Gillian Anderson. Gillian Anderson and Pamela Anderson could appear together, though, and I would love that. I think that would be a fun
I
comedy.
need to see both of them in
I
the
would
Criterion
love that.
Closet, because I know Pamela Anderson was in there. I need to see the two of them together.
That'd be incredible.
That sounds so fun. Yeah.
Well, Gillian Anderson goes on to appear as Dana Scully in 213 episodes of The X-Files across the original run and reboot, and she wrote and directed one episode here in season 7.
Which is another good. It would be a weird gimmicks episode to
Yeah.
do, but that was with like the scored by the Moby soundtrack.
It's so strange.
It's a fascinating episode. Fascinating.
Well, that sounds like
episode.
it's gimmicks material right there.
Well, the other thing I didn't like learning about that one is here we were in season 7. That was the first episode directed by a woman.
Yep. And it had to be your star of your show is how they got it happen. And I don't think very many women have written or directed any episodes after this either, unfortunately.
Not a bastion of feminism, The X-Files.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Her first big post-X-Files break is the series Bleak House, which is based on the Charles Dickens novel of the same name. The show is like well-reviewed, but her performance is like the second coming. Like when I read some contemporary articles about this, they were like, wow, this X-Files lady can actually act. It was pretty offensive / complimentary.
Yeah, it's like, have you ever fucking watched the show before?
Yeah.
Thank
Like, what are
you.
talking
Thank
about?
you. But see, I think they just knew of the show and didn't watch the show.
Yeah, sure. And TV was still very looked down upon.
Yeah.
At
And
the time in terms of acting. Yeah.
she's like half British. That was a lot of the articles too, of like, foreigners are taking our job. And they were like, no, she's like half British. Like, everyone calm down.
Therefore it's fine. But the other foreigners, how dare they?
Yeah, it's kind of bad either way.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Oh, the British media is bad. Hot take.
Oh yeah, the British media is bad and racist. Whoa.
But she's then in
Thankfully,
the
here in America, we've got everything. Right.
Good point. Yeah.
She is then in The Fall, Hannibal, Crisis, and Sex Education most recently, and she continues to act to this day. It's also worth noting that, like, Gillian Anderson is queer. She often will refer to herself as heterosexual and then describe same-sex relationships that she has and say, for any future partner that I may have, gender is not important to me. But she doesn't explicitly say I am pansexual, even though that was the very definition that I just gave.
She can do whatever the fuck she wants.
True.
I don't care. She's earned
Gender
it.
is a fuck. Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's earned
Yeah.
it.
There's not a lot to say about the guest cast on this one, but they have a lot of time to shine, and I want to give them a little bit of credit. Judson Mills plays Wetzel, who we spend a lot of time with, and I think is actually pretty good in the episode.
Yeah, he is. Yes.
He does a lot of character stuff. You might be surprised to know this. He plays a sheriff a lot in his credits.
Makes sense.
And
Makes sense.
he was on 47 episodes of Walker, Texas Ranger.
Oh, wow. Dang.
So,
All right.
yeah, that's good. I'm sure it was recorded by those zombies that we covered back in Buffy. Dee Freeman plays Sergeant Duthie. She has prolific guest appearances. She started on Coach and Party of Five, her first year acting, so she was right out the gate. She claims that she was in a Tyler Perry series, but I cannot validate that with Tyler Perry's credits. So I got a little confused on her posted CV versus things that she actually has confirmed appeared in. So
Interesting.
but she is definitely still acting to this day.
Sure.
Then I've got Steve and Edie. Steve and Eddie are straight men. I apologize to break this to both of you, but Steve is played by J.W. Smith. He is a producer and friend of Morgan Freeman and Bill Duke, and he is often in their projects. I know, right? He is often in their projects. He joins them when they are producers on things. And he came up in the New York City stage. So he has a lot of acting experience in theater and probably a lot of black gay male friends. He doesn't have a lot of other acting roles, but his compatriot Edie is played by Curtis Jackson, credited as Curtis C in the episode, and I can't tell you why. For any reason.
Interesting.
This was his first acting role, but he knew Smith from their work in New York City. So they both worked with the same types of actors, and that is who they are channeling for these characters.
Good to know. That's good context.
Yeah. I don't think that what they're doing is offensive. I think that it is very referential to New York ballroom culture of the 80s.
Yes.
Absolutely. I think it absolutely is. And I think there's a million ways this could have been done poorly. I think that they're actually presented in a really good light ultimately in this episode, which I think we can talk about.
Agreed.
So,
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about that because there were a couple times in there I was like, ooh, and then it ends up like allaying my fears by the end.
Yeah.
It's like here for an interesting reason, I think is very unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we've got Tara Carcian as the morgue assistant. A character actor who has been everywhere. And the moon, you recognize this woman when she got started working on Who's the Boss and Alf in 1990. She's most recently had a recurring role on The Morning Show that she's actually quite good. Not that she's not good as a character actor, but like she got to actually do fun recurring bits. She's been in 12 episodes, so it's been really fun.
Wow. That's really cool.
That's awesome.
But also, she's the daughter of Pat Carroll, who was the original Jane Jetson and Ursula in The Little Mermaid.
Oh, Pat Carroll. Love Pat Carroll.
I don't love Always a Nepo Baby, but I think this gets a pass. I think this gets a pass.
Yeah, Pat Carroll. It's not like, Pat Carroll's not like one of the richest people in the world or anything like that. She was the theater in Richmond that I used to work at substantially. Like Pat Carroll kind of got her start in that theater. We have like one of the dressing rooms is named after her. Yeah. And she's like she had even in like recent-ish, maybe I guess in like the past 10 years had like come back for shows occasionally and stuff like that. It's really cool. She's a really cool lady.
Did you ever get to meet her?
Nope. And I still have a vendetta against one of my friends that I worked with there because she came to one of the theater locations that I specifically worked at. And she came on a night that I was not working there. And I was never told that she was coming, despite The Little Mermaid being my favorite animated movie of all time. Still will never forget that.
I almost deleted this line out of my notes, and I am so happy I left this in so that I could learn this about you, Derek.
It has always been a major point of anger and regret for me that I was not told that was happening and missed that happened.
Well,
but
I'm gonna,
that is a much deeper story for another time that will not be told here.
And unfortunately, the story that we have to tell now is about cops.
Cops. USA Today calls it riveting, revealing, and risky. Real drama.
Okay,
swear
good.
to God, it's not
Good.
mine.
It's called possession of cocaine.
No, I
That's
swear.
a cocaine rock.
Real life.
Hey, take it easy, man.
Don't take him to jail. I'm gonna go crazy if you take him to jail.
Cops. Right after the reporters, Saturday. On the next Cops.
Well, I got this vehicle cruising to stop going westbound.
Police pull over a suspicious car.
Subject for bailing right now.
And a high-speed chase turns into a foot race.
Put your hands behind your back. Don't move.
But these crooks can't outrun this cop.
I got the driver and the driver. Just be quiet.
It's a police officer with a professional advantage.
I play professional football for Denver Broncos. You ain't gonna outrun me.
On Cops.
Brace yourself for 2 Fast and Furious season premieres. For over a decade, Cops has taken you on some wild rides, but nothing will compare to this.
He's got my gun.
Be there when Cops declares war on ruthless carjackers.
Please, my kids are in the car.
Cops Grand Theft Auto. Then on the premiere of America's Most Wanted, we're tracking criminals who kill with cars.
He killed 7 kids.
Hit and run fugitives and more. The season premieres of Cops and America's Most Wanted at 8/7 Central Fox Saturday.
Fox tomorrow. Cops and America's Most Wanted. 2 powerful crime-fighting forces. 1 manhunt that will bring them together. All new Cops. Then, see how these 2 heroes helped stop a massacre. The amazing story on an all-new America's Most Wanted. It all starts at 8/7 Central tomorrow on Fox.
So let's talk about the gimmick of this episode. We've talked, obviously, we've talked about it, but this is a crossover episode between X-Files and Cops. That is an interesting concept because X-Files is a fictional paranormal sci-fi show. Cops is a documentary reality show with real people. That is sort of, they think, what makes this particularly unique. Plenty of crossover episodes have existed over the history of time, especially on the same network, but the fact that it is a fictional show with a non-fictional show crossing over, there's nothing very few things that are like that. And especially, I think the cop element of the X-Files having Mulder and Scully working for the FBI. So they are often in the position in their shows to be working with local law enforcement. It actually makes a weird amount of sense for out of all the shows they could cross over with on Fox, that it would be Cops.
Right.
As gross as it is to think about, it does actually make a lot of sense because this is the environment that they're often in. So it is kind of a fun idea to be like, what if Cops, the reality show that's supposed to take place in real life, what if Mulder and Scully just rolled up into it?
Yeah.
Because FBI would often show up in Cops in certain situations.
Yep.
Like that was a real thing that would happen.
Exactly. So we must talk about Cops. I will say it's so nice knowing that this was a Gilligan run situation. Like this was artists wanted to do this.
Yes.
Because there's a world in which the network wanted this to happen. And I think the episode would be poor. And what we get instead might be crossover and might be a little bit of parody of Cops, I think.
I totally agree with you.
Okay, good. I was hoping I wasn't going too far on a limb on that because there were moments that I was like, oh shit, we're like biting the hand here a little bit.
Yeah, I think so.
But I want to talk a little bit about how Cops came to be and what it was looking like now and what has happened since this episode. So before Cops, there was not a lot of examples of filming the police. The earliest may be Roger Graef's Police, which was the name of the series, which aired in 1982, which was a BBC documentary series about the Thames Valley Police. The series included a portrayal of officers treating a rape survivor so harshly that it became a subject of conversation in Parliament, and Margaret Thatcher spoke out against police response to rape.
Whoa.
Oh my God.
It's
You got Margaret Thatcher to be like, to be criticized. Like, you must have done something
that must have
real
been
rough.
fucked up. Also,
Yeah.
weird Gillian Anderson connection to that too, since she
Yeah,
ended up
truly.
playing Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. Wild.
Yeah, but back to America. In 1983, there's a series called Cocaine Blues, which is more of a look at users of cocaine, but it does involve the police. And John Langley is a new producer and director who goes along with police as part of getting this on a drug raid, and it kindles a spirit within him.
Okay.
Oh, joy.
Okay.
So in 1986, Langley, as the producer of American Vice, The Doping of a Nation, which was done for Geraldo, he convinced officers of the Broward County, Florida Sheriff's Office to allow cameras to accompany them on a previously scheduled drug bust. And from this, Langley is like, this is the thing I want to do. But he's having so much trouble getting it done. He takes other jobs as a director and producer, including producing a workout video that featured Dolph Lundgren, who was, Drogo from Rocky IV.
Oh boy.
Right.
The bad guy.
Yeah.
And Dolph Lundgren, also a minion today. How the Mighty Have Fallen.
Wait, like a Despicable Me minion?
Yes. One of the celebrity minions, obviously.
There's celebrity minions?
Yeah. Oh God, Tyler, I simply don't have the time. They come up all the time on this podcast.
Dolph Lundgren has done stuff.
Yes, he's done other things.
He has had a career based on his identity as the guy from Rocky. Like, it's
interesting.
Yeah. So Langley, in taking all these odd jobs, he also does a JFK assassination film. Not good. And then he produces Devil's Worship, Exposing Satan's Underground with Geraldo Rivera.
Cool.
Geraldo Rivera.
This is the birth of Satanic Panic. Like, our guy is here at ground zero.
Wow, he's really just touched some of the worst things to ever happen to American society, hasn't he?
Yeah. I don't know if this is better or worse, but it's because of this special that he gets connected with Stephen Chow, who was then the programming executive for Fox, who had just created America's Most Wanted and was like, how do I make another one of these? And then walks Langley.
Yeah. Which makes, the America's Most Wanted connection makes a lot of sense. I think America's Most Wanted, at least came from a good, honest place with John Walsh and everything.
We watched John Walsh go through therapy on national television.
Yeah, totally.
Right. I think it came from a really sincere place. So I don't really hold really anything against that show in that regard, but like Cops obviously is just coming from the fascination with law enforcement.
Correct.
Which I understand.
Yeah.
I do think it is a fascinating thing to observe the process of.
Yes.
Like, I think I think there's no mystery as to why a show like Cops would be such a big hit, because it is really, really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of your feelings.
Especially at that time too, in 89, like we're starting to see more televised representation of cops like out in the field doing their day-to-day jobs, and some of the negative impacts that come from that. Like Rodney King is around this time. There's a lot of feelings towards like, are all cops bad? Are we starting to have this discussion? And then in swoops this show when it's kind of like in a zeitgeisty sort of moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well,
for sure.
Let's talk about that zeitgeist, because when it started, it wasn't just that this could be another America's Most Wanted. It was during the WGA strike, which actually impacted America's Most Wanted because that was a scripted show.
Oh, yeah.
So Cops is ideal, and Chow wants it weekly, and he's a little nervous about this Langley guy who's a little untested, but Langley says, quote, "I'm the pizza man. I can deliver every week."
Aw.
And he does.
Wait, I mean, the pizza man delivers more than once a week.
Wow.
It's actually like not a very good pizza man if you only deliver one time a week, but
again, it's 1989. The scope of taking 10 hours and turning it into 1 hour of watchable television has not been achieved yet. This is new terrain.
Right.
True.
Right.
So police departments across the United States, when this is getting started, are already in this weird trying to figure out what they're doing situation. The 80s was a weird time for policing. And to sort of cut through all the history of it, I'll just say that probably some of the greatest strides towards the progressive things that we want police to be doing were happening in the 80s and stopped when this show started. Not because of the show, but all of the like de-escalation techniques and deprioritizing using weapons, all of that was happening in the late 70s and 80s.
Yeah, I mean, that's always going to be the frustrating thing, is that like all these conversations that we've been having, like they didn't just start in 2020.
No.
Like that it's followed up these conversations that have been being had for decades. It's just, you know, more people I think started listening within the last like 6 or so years.
Yeah.
But like that has been around for a very long time. And it's just frustrating that it's just been kind of at a standstill for so long.
Yeah. But writ large, where a lot of this was coming from was it was a response to try to return to a community policing model that had been destroyed by the introduction of the ubiquity of the automobile. Putting police officers in cars ruined community policing.
Holy fuck. That's wild.
Yeah, that makes sense though.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sorry to blow through 2 years of comp sci that I had to take in college, but like we gotta go.
But like there's so much with like law enforcement and policing history that like you can't. That is a whole other podcast.
Truly,
so propaganda in general, it's an interesting subject, but like this is about the one reality show.
So all is that to say, like the pump is primed for something that makes police look better.
Yeah.
So our guy Langley goes back to his friend, who is the Broward County Sheriff, Nick Navarro. And Langley promises Navarro that if he lets him film his officers, Navarro gets final cut on anything that doesn't show the police officers in the right light.
Yep. I mean, I remember that being a thing even back to like Dragnet.
Yeah.
Like with that show being made, like actual cops would like give notes and have to give approval on it to make sure that they looked good.
Wow.
Like, when people talk about propaganda, like it isn't just like,
back.
oh, they were writing to make cops look good. It's like, no, it's like actual like policemen and law enforcement have had hands in shaping how they've been portrayed in media since the 50s at least. I think Dragnet was sort of the start of that, but it's continued in different forms for a long time.
If anything, the mid 80s and 90s were actually displaying like more complicated police figures. Like that was getting a little better in fictional television, but then you've got to weigh it against this shit.
Right.
So the pilot and the first 2 episodes are a bit more of a documentary. They include featuring a patrol officer, Jerry Worms. And Jerry Worms proposes to his girlfriend on camera, is also his colleague, Linda Canada. And Worms and Canada are like the blonde and brunette, blue-eyed faces of cops. They go on to David Letterman. They are featured in sort of the national press around all of this. And they are part of what sells this as a smash, is that this isn't just like you're going to see police doing their job. You're also going to like learn about like the detailed lives of these police officers.
Sure.
And then it seems like a smash. There are a couple of critics early, Rolling Stone, Newsweek, New York Times, all sort of negatively call out the racism of featuring white officers and black suspects, but they're minority. I mean, I'm talking about major outlets, but most of the press that this is getting is very positive.
Sure.
So in 1992, a big thing happens in 1992, but before Rodney King, Cops has hit its broadcast syndication goals, and it just continues to show the value of making this program. It is massive and ubiquitous, including international markets. It is picked up in the UK, Portugal, Colombia, Australia, Japan, the Philippines, India, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark all run Cops.
That's wild, actually. I didn't realize how international it was.
It's bonkers for me thinking about a Japanese audience watching this and thinking like, oh, this is real life? Because policing is so different.
I mean, it is very compelling though.
Yeah.
It's like it's all full of action, and like they frame it as like very clear good guys and very clear bad guys to root against. Like, it's part of the problem with the show, but like I do see how it's kind of translatable to international markets, even though it's obviously very rooted in American culture, you know?
Yeah. On any given week, certain markets would have Cops available for as many as 70 times, with different unique episodes airing.
Jesus Christ. Wow.
It's too many. It's too many episodes of Cops.
Well, yeah.
And we do have to talk about the LAPD beating of Rodney King. Mostly that you think that maybe it would introduce some criticism of the show Cops. But no, these were the 2 years that it won Primetime Emmys.
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you remember what the Emmys were like for?
It was before there was a reality TV category. So it was like outstanding. It was the same thing they used for like,
drama?
No.
Editing?
The one they use for like, shows where everyone like sings and dances is like that kind of show.
Oh, variety?
Yeah, like a variety show. I think they won for best variety.
That makes sense.
Wow.
That makes sense. That is so okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Yeah, the bad times just keep on coming because not only do we realize this is great in syndication, but the VHS market is starting to blow up. And so every time there's a Christmas or Father's Day, a new best of VHS or later DVD will release for dads in the world.
I remember seeing commercials for this.
Yep.
It's the show that started it all. Cops Too Hot for TV. See for the first time ever what the network censors held back from the award-winning Fox TV series. It's gritty, graphic, and outrageous real-life footage from the mean streets of America. You've seen Cops before, but never like this. Cops Too Hot for TV. Experience the original for yourself. Now, here's your chance to own official Cops gear. Cops gear is available from your favorite retailer's Cop Shop or directly from Cops the store. First up, the official Cops short sleeve t-shirt. This extra large 100% heavyweight cotton tee is jet black with the Cops logo emblazoned on the front. Bring home the exclusive Cops t-shirt for only $16.95.
But criticisms are starting to pile up, not necessarily for the racism inherent in the police system, but for, quote, what makes the cut. Almost half of the crimes that we see on the show Cops are violent: rape, robbery, murder, despite those crimes representing just under 10% of all crimes committed. Sex work is also wildly overrepresented. Henry Malofsky, who did a 6-part podcast on this called Running from Cops, which was incredible to listen to, estimates that it was about 10 times overrepresented of the actual occurrence of sex work that is investigated by police.
Jesus.
Sure. But it's real juicy though.
Exactly.
You know?
And it even makes its way into this episode, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes for good TV.
Viewers, especially white, male, and non-college educated viewers, are more likely to overestimate violent crimes, more likely to believe that they will be victims of crimes, and believe that Black people commit more crimes than they do. And finally, and perhaps most egregiously, and probably the biggest takeaway of Cops, is that these viewers believe police officers to be better at catching perpetrators than they actually are. Because almost every story on Cops ends with an arrest, and the arrest rate nationally hovers around 14%.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you talk about propaganda, that's what it is. It's actually like reshaping narratives of how people perceive how the police work.
It's incredible that like it feels like so much of society still is locked into that perspective from 30 years ago.
Yep. And
yeah, for sure.
Now, I don't want to lay too much of that just on this show existed, because a lot of other things were going into that. And even Gary Cavender, who was the researcher who pulled all of that from Arizona State University, says, you know, some of these people who are afraid that they're going to be victims of crime are the target audience for Cops. So it's not like Cops made them that way. They just were tapping into a target demographic.
Sure, sure.
For years, Cops continued to show officers acting in violent, abusive, racist, and potentially unconstitutional ways. At some point in time, the Supreme Court heard an argument and ruled against allowing camera crews to come into homes unless there was a signed release, in hopes that it would kill cops. And it didn't.
Wonderful.
Because by this point in time, it was like a mark of stardom to sign that release, which I think is also pretty disgusting. People who have done follow-up on these releases often will talk to people who don't remember signing that release, but neither here nor there. Rather than critiquing the behaviors that we see on camera, Cops often portrays it as good policing, but there's sort of a change in what we're seeing on the camera after 9/11, because police offices are starting to buy a lot of paramilitary and military gear. And so the show has to start changing the things that they choose to put on camera.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yes. During one of the 2002-2003 shows, they had a tank, and Langley and his son, who has taken over as EP, were like, we should not show this. This is not good television about cops.
Right. Right.
In 2013, following the murder of Trayvon Martin, a campaign against cops began by the grassroots organization Color of Change. 50,000 members of that organization signed a petition to Fox executives to reconsider airing the show. Executives were apparently very apt to listen, but were very non-committal in the meeting. And so the activists were like, well, fuck you. We're going to come protest in front of your building. They told them about the protest, and the day before it was to happen, Fox executives said, we're pulling cops off the air.
Wow.
Wow, protests work so well they didn't even have to protest.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's pretty incredible. Imagine.
It is, of course, immediately picked up by Spike TV.
Sure.
Bastion of
It's
social
a moneymaker,
justice.
baby.
It is a moneymaker. And I will say, even if it wasn't picked up by Spike TV, there were contracts with police offices that had to be fulfilled of filming their officers. So they would have had to keep producing even if it didn't air. So they were eager, of course, to recoup some of those costs. Yeah. But when Spike folds into Paramount during one of the many mergers that we have all lived through, it moves there. And Paramount is okay having it, except in 2020, Paramount pulls the program. And I think everyone who remembers 2020 could probably guess why. A massive conversation about racial inequity in the United States led Paramount executives to say, fuck this real fast. But Fox Nation comes along and picks it up in 2021, where it runs today for annual subscribers, which are called Patriots when you sign up for the annual membership. You can also be a silver Patriot for buying 2 years at a time if you want, Tyler.
Jesus. I'm sure they made a real big deal out of it when they acquired it.
Yep.
And how woke culture didn't want you to see what props were really like and things like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you all remember back in like the mid 2000s, we had I think it was mostly like a cable or satellite channel called G4, which was like aimed at video game coverage. There were times, and I think G4 was owned by Spike at this time. So there was a time when they were like, well, we don't have any more G4 content to air, and we don't really have money to buy like syndicated sitcoms or drama series, but we do have Cops. And I remember G4 became like the Cops channel for the longest time, where it was like all Cops and then sometimes some video games.
G4 was such a weird fucking
that was
channel.
a weird fucking.
It had such weird eras.
Time.
They ended up like getting lost for a while, like the show Lost too, like just the most nonsensical channel to ever exist.
The ad bumpers had like jumping scantily clad women in them too.
Yeah.
Man Show was there for a little while. It was so weird. That
at least it gave us Adam Sessler, who's never done anything wrong and seems like a great guy.
Derek, insert sound effects here. Boop, 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 boop. Poor Adam Sessler. I mean, not poor Adam Sessler. I take that back.
No.
So for Cops, to date, there have been 1,242 produced episodes.
Oh my god.
And based on how their syndication is written up, if you own one, you own them all. And that's why shit like that G4 thing happens.
Yeah, literally 1,000 more episodes than the X-Files made, and the X-Files ran for like 11 seasons. Like that's God.
Neither here nor there, but the Cops, everything about Cops will not reference this episode of the X-Files. Everything about X-Files will reference Cops. So some internet activist will go in and remove anytime somebody tries to link X-Cops to the series Cops.
Really?
They're all in there because, you can look at like a fandom wiki of all the changes.
Right.
If someone adds it, somebody takes it off.
Wow.
That's so stupid. It's like part of the legacy of the show.
I think they don't like it. I think fans of Cops don't like this episode.
I can't imagine why, as we eventually discuss some of the police representation in this episode.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get to that. Just real quick, some of the making of, we talked about around some of the making of this episode, how it came. Vince Gilligan, it was his idea. He pitched it. There was some uncomfortableness. You referenced this, Tyler, but like they were just like, how can we do this on videotape? Like that is why this episode looks the way that it does. They're not filming it on film. They're filming it on videotape. Like that's what makes the sort of grainy grittiness of it work. But they did decide to commit to it. I think a big reason why they did feel like they could do it was seeing the Blair Witch Project, which had just came out the year before.
So wild.
Found footage movie filmed on videotape. Huge hit, and they're sort of like, fuck, like they can make a scary movie that looks like this. That means that we can do it too. So I think they're very inspired by that. And also the idea that like Blair Witch Project never shows a monster, right? And still has scares. So that's how they come up with the idea of like, if we're going to have this idea and we can't just show a monster, if we're trying to keep this realistic and say that this is an episode that airs on the show Cops, we can't just show a monster. So that's how they come up with the idea of having a monster you can't see in this episode that wouldn't show up on cameras. And like real reality TV, once they end up going for it, the episode is way easier to make, way cheaper to make, way faster to produce than a regular episode. They said that the normal production of X-Files would be like maybe 3 to 4 pages a day. There's one night for this episode where they shot 3.5 pages in only 2 hours.
That's bonkers.
Like, incredible. Yeah. Like the editing for this, even though like obviously editing is very important to reality TV, like even still, like they would make maybe like 800 to 1200 film cuts for a regular episode of the X-Files. This one, 45 film cuts for editors.
Wow.
Like truly, like it's like this grand experiment was sort of like, fuck, maybe we should like always make X-Files like this. It's so much easier.
Ryan Coogler, don't listen to that.
No, Ryan Coogler, you can do one episode that's fun, but no, not Cops.
Right.
Get away from Cops.
I don't think Ryan Coogler
probably
had
not.
something really interesting to say about it.
That's actually really true. That might be worth it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I do want to say Michael Watkins did hire some sheriff's deputies to act as extras for the episodes. SWAT officers were hired to break down the doors during the quote crack house scene. And Gilligan did attend a shooting of an episode of Cops to like get a feel. Yeah. They also brought on a member of the Cops crew, Bertram Van Munster, who was a producer on Cops from 1990 to 1997, to give the episode a more authentic feel. He helped recommend some shots. He was in a consultancy role. But the year after this is filmed, Munster goes on to create The Amazing Race with his wife as a dare to come up with, quote, good television.
Huh.
Wow.
Huh.
Yeah.
Huh.
I just was shocked that this was anywhere close to this episode. If you had said, is The Amazing Race connected to the X-Files in any way, I would have said no, and here we are. And Cops. Okay. Her web connects us all, Derek.
Her web connects us all. Yep.
The following is a special episode of The X-Files. Viewer discretion is advised.
So the episode opens with a disclaimer. What I love about the disclaimer is that it is the same voice that you would hear in an episode of Cops, like reading it.
Yes.
But it's specifically telling you that it is a special episode of the X-Files, which I think is like, I think that was a Fox mandated thing of like, we don't want people to get confused and think that we preempted X-Files with Cops, because this episode is so authentically made that it does look like an episode of Cops. But I do really like that it does also keep the same part of the disclaimer that's in a regular episode of Cops, which is viewer discretion is advised, in the exact same voice, which is very funny to me.
Agreed. Uh-huh. It does feel, it's not just because we go into Bad Boys immediately following that, but it does feel like Cops at the very beginning. And that, what a bold and like good choice. Yep. But like Mulder and Scully are not in the scenes of the Cops intro. So like you should know that something is going on.
Yes.
But
absolutely.
Yeah, maybe if some executive was like, no, they'll hear the Bad Boys and think it's Cops because that's all we run when there's not any other programming.
I do love that like Mulder and Scully show up a lot in like the intro montage with the theme song going. So it is still just like, this is definitely, you are watching the X-Files, I promise you.
Yeah.
But I also like that this is also still kind of like a typical X-Files cold open, where it's not involving the FBI agents. It's purely who is the victim or who is the person that's going to encounter this supernatural entity. And then we're going to deal with the fallout from that for the remainder of the episode.
Yep.
That is a really good point, Tyler, because like when you take this away from being filmed like an episode of Cops, it's not any different than a regular X-Files episode, the way that opens. That's a really good point. Yeah.
And that subject is Officer Wetzel, or Deputy Wetzel. He's from the LA Sheriff's Office, and we start off with his like confessional, I guess that's what we would call these in reality TV now, but he's sort of doing the like thing where he's narrating everything that's going on for him on patrol.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about a full moon. It's just something about it. People just go off the wall. I mean, these are some pretty scary neighborhoods to begin with. I haven't been on the job that long myself, but I've seen more than my fair share of crazy stuff. When the moon is full, it's just like times 10. I don't know, maybe it's the tides or something. But irregardless, we're on the job, and if that makes people breathe a little easier knowing we're out there, or be a little less nervous walking the streets at night, well, that's a good feeling.
He's talking about responding to a monster, looking around the full moon, and how the full moon always like makes the crazies come out and stuff like that. And I really like that it's like right at the get-go, they're tricking you into thinking it's a werewolf episode, which that version of the episode would still be fun, but I think what we get ends up being way more interesting.
Yeah. And it was here that I was like, oh, this is a parody. Like this is us like cutting up, because we've got Wetzel, who is supposed to be like our representation of a cop. He says things like irregardless, and he flat out runs stop signs as he's driving, in sort of I can ignore the law because I am the law. It feels very subversive on the show's part.
That's, I didn't really pick up on that, but you're right. Cause like this guy, considering he's kind of like our hero cop character in this episode, the one we're following, he's not a very good cop. He's kind of really, really awful at his job.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he'd be any good at any other job, which I think is sort of what we're saying here.
Yeah. That's an interesting observation.
Yeah.
When he gets to the house of the call, this is, of course, he sees slashes at the door. We're playing up that werewolf more. He responds to noises in the back. This is the first point at which I was scared, which will be many, because anytime the camera is moving is really scary. And then he gives chase, and this is where they make it back to the car. They try to get in, and something picks up the vehicle and knocks it over, and we smash into the X-Files opening.
Yeah, which I don't like. The X-Files opening is in here. It does not need to be in there.
I agree.
That was absolutely not what the creative team wanted to have. Gilligan didn't want the X-Files logo to appear anywhere, including the interstitials. He wanted it to be completely like immersive, to pretend this is a true episode of Cops you were watching that Mulder and Scully just pop up into, which I do. I like that idea of like really committing to the bit with that. But Fox was like, people are going to be so confused. Like, we have to say this is the X-Files as much as we possibly can, which is why the regular X-Files opening shows up, even though we literally just saw the Cops opening at the top, which I do think kind of ruins the immersion of it a bit and really sticks out. But if we had to have the X-Files opening in here to get the episode made, it's a fair trade-off.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
I'm never going to be sad to hear the theme song of the X-Files also.
Sure.
But I agree.
Never skipping that one.
We started with such a bold statement, and then this takes the wind out of it just a little bit.
Yes, it really does. Yeah.
I think maybe because I liked the design of the interstitials, I was more forgiving of those, because I thought they were bangers.
I think that it was smart though to do that, because like the interstitials have like the X-Files logo, but also have the red and blue siren lights of a police car, just like Cops does.
Yeah.
But what I think is really smart about it is that like the way that Cops would go to commercial is that it would fade out in the middle of a conversation or in the middle of things happening. So you'd still hear the sounds, you'd still hear a conversation continuing while you'd see the Cops logo with the red and blue in the background. They do the exact same thing. You just see X-Files instead of Cops. I think that's really smart, and that still feels very distinct.
100%, yeah.
For this episode.
Well, when we come back from the opening, Sergeant Duthie is there and has arrived with all of her backup, and they continue chase of the suspect, whoever it is. But it turns out that they have just found Mulder and Scully.
I do like that it gets into that idea that like they're literally FBI agents that are like on their side that have ID and everything, and they're immediately being held up at gunpoint, not believed. And Mulder has to be like, look at my back pocket, there's an ID. Look at my back pocket, there's an ID. Look at my back pocket, there's an ID. Yeah. And no one's listening to them.
Yeah.
Which is so true. That's so true to life.
Right.
It felt subversive. Right. It felt like we were showing how incompetent these officers are at their jobs.
I think it helped too that it's like a squad. Like it's 6 people
Yes.
holding them up, basically, with more
Yeah,
cops
no one
all
is
around
doing
them.
anything.
There are so many cops in this episode.
Yeah, they're like hordes of them.
Yeah.
And I think that it really speaks to something that I like about X-Files, that like even though we're following the FBI agents, we're following law enforcement, and X-Files can sometimes veer into that sort of propaganda realm, the way that they sort of treat the like types of investigations that Mulder and Scully are doing and the way they operate sometimes. The show is often also very critical of the institutions that Mulder and Scully are working for. And I do think that that's what allows it to, I think, just be a very complex show that I would not just say is just straight up propaganda.
Agreed.
I don't think it ever
For
feels
sure.
like that. It's very, very critical of those institutions. And so when you put them in this environment, there are regular episodes of the X-Files where they bump up against local law enforcement that are in sort of impeding these cases and things like that. Like this is normal territory for the X-Files to really go in on. It's just much more highlighted in this episode because it's an episode of cops.
Yeah. Well, this is where Mulder then follows up and interviews Wetzel, implying that it was a werewolf attack and Wetzel has been bitten, and Mulder orders him to be isolated.
Big teeth, 8 feet tall. What the hell are you describing?
A werewolf.
Excuse me.
It's what did that. It also attacked one Hyman Escalera 29 days ago during the last full moon. Hyman died of his wounds in Compton General Hospital, but not before giving a detailed description of what attacked him. My partner and I are here to catch it. Unfortunately, though, Deputy, you've been bitten, and the skin is broken. Werewolf law pretty much universally holds that someone who's been bitten by such a creature is going to become such a creature himself, so...
Well, wait a minute. I mean, but that's not what really happened, though.
I'm sorry, but you're going to have to be isolated and kept under guard.
With all due respect, what the are you talking about?
The best fucking parts of these episodes are Scully hearing this and like literally trying to hide from the camera.
Yes.
Like as soon as Mulder goes into his werewolf like tirade and everyone's like, what are you talking about?
Yes.
Scully just like puts her hand over her face and tries to like hide behind a car door. It's amazing.
It's so funny. Gillian Anderson is so funny everything she does, but here she is channeling some serious comedic energy.
Totally.
Yes. Like you could tell like, oh, Scully like is an introvert at heart and does not want to fucking be on camera. Like does not want this.
Yeah.
And I also really do like, is it Duthie or Duthy?
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Yeah. One of the two. That the sergeant, after hearing all this, she was just sort of like, yeah, it's gangbangers.
Clearly.
Is it not a werewolf? It's gangbangers.
Isn't she also like, can I see your badge again?
Oh, that was great.
Yeah.
It's so great.
Can I just say though too, like, so this is set in a Los Angeles neighborhood, fictional, called Willow Park.
Yep.
And it's meant to be like a really high crime neighborhood. And especially during this time, like LA was seen as like criminals everywhere. You got to have cops everywhere. Like, what was it? Training Day is like set there. Like it is clearly like a place where it's like high crime and cops all over the place. I think it was so smart to do it here. And like they use the setting so well to really evoke so many of like those different emotions that we feel. But I think it's also just really, really smart to have it placed here and then also show that cops are frequently incompetent. Like this is a great place to do that.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it's a great point.
This is also where Scully is concerned that they're being filmed, and Mulder asks her to accompany Wetzel to the hospital and like make sure that he doesn't turn into a werewolf.
Yeah, and it is. I think that they have a lot of fun clear in this episode of being able to imply swear words without actually hearing it because it can be bleeped. Because I think one of the I think it is the sergeant when Mulder's talking about the werewolf. She's just like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Yes.
But it's bleeped. And then that's later on when Scully's like worried about it being live television, and Mulder's sort of like, "No, it's fine. It's gonna be edited. I don't think it's live television." She said, "Fuck." Like
so,
and they bleep him
obviously
out.
they're gonna bleep it. Yeah, it's so good.
My belly
It's so
laugh
good.
of a line because we don't get to hear Mulder say "fuck," but he absolutely does. Like, come on, these two both swear like sailor.
Oh my god!
absolutely.
How can you not? There was a fluke man in the first season. I would be dropping swear words all the fucking time.
just Scully running fuck.
In those heels, absolutely, girl.
It's also such a good character point for both of them, really, that, like, again, Scully does not want to be on camera, but Mulder's like, fuck yes, there's cameras. I'm going to find the monster. It doesn't, Scully, if you get, like, left behind or pass out or close your eyes, it doesn't matter because there are cameras here that are chasing everything. So finally, the people in America are going to see whatever this fucking monster is. Like, finally. And of course, it's a monster that's invisible this time. Like, of course.
Yeah, we get a little bit of that plot moving forward. Again, just like a normal episode of The X-Files, they work with a sketch artist who talks to the owner of the house, Mrs. Guerrera, and through the sketch, Mulder is expecting to see a werewolf, but instead she describes and he draws Freddy Krueger.
It's so good.
That was
it's so good.
Incredible also just seeing, like, straight up just Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
It's a great piece of art of him.
I do wonder at what point in time you as a sketch artist stop and go, wait.
No, I think he's having fun. He's just like, all right, I'll draw Freddy Krueger. Great. I don't get a chance to draw fan art on my job.
Oh, poor Ricky.
It is, I mean, but also, they also had like a sketch artist do a werewolf drawing too. That's really fucking sick.
The werewolf
Imagine
looks
getting
great.
that's like the greatest day ever for a sketch artist. Just to be like, well, I guess I'm drawing a wolf man. Great, cool.
Well, I think it's implied it's also Ricky that drew the werewolf too.
Oh yeah, because Ricky's been following this whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's just
Ricky's
like
having the best day of his life until he's killed.
Yeah.
Poor Ricky.
He went on a high note.
Yeah.
He did. He's a great artist.
He was
a great artist. Yeah.
Ouch. Scully is back reporting to Mulder that Wetzel wasn't bitten. Well, not by a werewolf anyway. They were insect bites that looked like the bite of a mouth only because the power of suggestion was in Mulder's head.
So another report sends the investigation down the street where they find Ricky, that sketch artist, who's been slashed across the torso, just like Freddy's claws would be scratched against his torso, which they noted that he was kind of scared about. He was just like, oh no, someone walked me to my car. I'm a little bit nervous about this. So it is noted that he was very scared the last time you saw him, and now he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where we get Wetzel's monologue about Ricky's death, where he's like, anytime a fellow officer goes down on a job or a support staff. And it is like, once I sort of read it as parody, I appreciated it like 100 times more.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I love that Vince Gilligan wanted to make this not because he was like, oh my God, cops are so great. I got to make an episode of the X-Files that is a crossover with cops and how great cops are. Instead, it's like, no, this is just kind of a slice of Americana. And I want to capture that with my own parody, and it's genius.
Yeah, I think you can definitely tell that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is when we meet Steve and Edie, because Mulder and Scully go interview them because they're the couple that called 911 about Ricky's death.
Oh my God! Look at this. All these people. We fine.
Can y'all tell us what happened?
Not with me looking like this. Now you should know better than that, Sergeant Paula. Like she gonna run from a camera. Look at here. We heard all this screaming. Peeked out the window, and this boy with crazy hair was having a conniption fit, all rolled up there by the phone.
You didn't see his attacker?
I'm ready for my close-up. Oh, ain't nobody care about your scabby ass. This police business.
They're just like old queens.
They're excellent.
Their whole vibe.
They're wonderful.
I really enjoy them. I really like when the cameras show up and Edie leaves to get done up, and Steve's like she's gonna run away from the camera.
Yeah. Oh, it's incredible. But Steve and Edie point them towards Shantara, because that is who owned the fake nail that Scully found at the crime scene, and so they're on to the next thing.
Yeah. I think it's during as they're going to Shantara, there's a bit where Mulder is having one of his usual Muldery monologues, and they do this zoom in on his fingers, tapping on the steering wheel. And I don't quite get it, but it does feel like something you would see on Cops.
Right, totally.
Where they're trying to find something interesting to focus, because they're in the back seat. It's not a good piece of cinematography, but if you zoom in on the fingers tapping, suddenly it feels like art and artistic,
Mm-hmm. We are humanizing this law enforcement person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one of the really, I think, amazing things about this episode is how much we see the back of Mulder and Scully's heads, which just otherwise you wouldn't see, because actors are staged correctly usually.
Right. Facing the camera.
And
right.
I don't know if either of you noticed this, but almost every time Mulder's standing, David Duchovny has like spread his legs out a little bit so that he's a little bit shorter and not a massive giant next to Gillian Anderson.
That's really smart.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because she can't be like on the Scully box for this type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Wow. Oh, wow, I never thought about that.
So he's just constantly man spreading, which I also think is a very Fox Mulder-like thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really funny.
They interview Shantara, and she says that she tried to help Ricky, but she ran away from her boyfriend Chuko. They take Shantara into custody with Wetzel in charge of her protection.
Yeah, the Shantara stuff I think is interesting because obviously they're playing on a very common trope, which is including sex workers in an episode of Cops. I do think that like they treat her better than they could have. And I do think this episode, it's interesting. I think it gets to kind of play it both ways because in some ways I do think Shantara is like treated like a hysterical type of person, right? That I don't think looks great. But I also think it's like very empathetic with the fact that like, of course she'd be fucking scared of the cops. Like, obviously she's not going to want to talk to them. And I do think you're supposed to kind of feel bad when she dies shortly after this.
Oh yeah.
And I do think it's also a really smart detail that her face is blurred the entire time because her character dies before she would have been able to sign the waiver.
Yep.
Like it lets them have the trope of a blurred face person in Cops, which is often happens, but it also like makes sense in context.
Right. And why not Ricky? Because Ricky might have signed one, but your department signs it for you when you work for them. Another part of the Cops lore is that you as an individual officer can't opt out.
That's wild. I didn't know that.
Insane.
Yeah.
But
That
I guess
sucks.
it's like, if you're a cop and you've really bought into the whole message of being a cop, it's like, why would I opt out? You know?
Well, there are entire police offices that are not allowed to do this, and they have said very strongly no. And I just couldn't get into it in the history, but like Chicago refuses to allow cops anywhere near their production.
That's good.
Wow.
But also,
wow.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
Yeah,
You don't have to give the police anything, but there are standards that people will not cross.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know. It's all very interesting stuff.
Going back to the Shantara part of it, I thought it was really interesting when I was like looking into this. They brought the guy who did the blur effect from Cops to do the blur effect on Shantara because they wanted it to look as accurate as possible.
It's a good blur. It's
a really good blur.
It's a good blur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even know like what's the difference between like a good and a bad blur. That's a good fucking blur.
You can tell.
Yes. Yeah. When you see a bad blur, which is one that I can do with my limited knowledge of video editing, you can tell. And it is a lot about getting that blur effect to follow their face and where the it is. That's the hard part. The actual blur is whatever, but it's the like positioning and making sure that they're actually anonymous.
Right.
Yeah. It sucks for the actress that she gets to be in X-Files and no one gets to see her face in it.
I know.
But I think she is very good at playing this very big. And I do think it's smart to give her this bright pink bubblegum hair and bright nails so that like, even though her face is blurred and you're obviously shooting this all like in the dark, very dark lighting, like she still pops so much, which then I think helps them when you see her dead body, even with the blurred face, be very make it very clear how gnarly it looks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, the police break into a home to arrest Chuko. They keep calling it a crack house. Not my favorite term in the world, as listeners might guess.
But I almost wonder if that's intentional though, because I think it maybe is Wetzel, where he's like, my favorite part of the job is knocking down crack houses. That's your favorite part of the job.
I know.
Ugh. Oh God, I wish that bee monster had eaten you. Ugh.
Right?
Yeah, I don't like that. But anyway, they break in there, but they do find Chuko has overdosed days ago. When they hear gunshots outside, it's Wetzel firing at someone, and we see Shantara is dead in the exact way she feared, which was that Chuko was going to twist her neck like a chicken.
Yeah. Ugh. It's so striking. It's upsetting. And I think I would have felt worse. I mean, it sucks. And that is like its own sort of trope of just like sex workers being expendable in media like this. But I do think they make it so clear that the cops are like treating her really badly, that she's like really terrified. She's done nothing wrong. She is like just like a bystander / potential victim in this situation. And they're like shoving her into a fucking cop car, being so forceful with her. Everyone's yelling at her. Like even earlier when like Mulder and Scully were like, don't run, we're FBI. It's like, of course she's going to fucking run. Yeah. That would be a thing that would make me want to run away, no matter what I have or haven't done. Well, like they're so shitty to her the entire time, which I think makes it kind of really like makes it even more pointedly sad when she dies anyway, really violently in a state of fear.
There's even like a like one of those, like it would almost be a gag if it wasn't like sad knowing what we know, where like Mulder is telling her like, you're not going to get arrested, you're not going to get in trouble, you can leave, and then right after he says that, it's like a smash cut and she's in the back of the patrol car.
Yeah. I do think that is very intentional.
I do too. I absolutely think it was very intentional because it felt like true to cops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And true to the show, which has to show you arrests. Like that's the entire, nothing makes the cut if it doesn't show you the end result.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, and it is also very clever, I think. We see throughout this entire episode that the fears that this monster manifests as that we'll learn about is like either taking the forms of like, movie monsters or like a virus at one point. I do think it's smart for in one case, it is just taking the form of a man.
Yeah.
Like a man who can twist your head around, but like an actual man.
Right.
Like I think it shows the varying levels to which it can manifest and makes it a little bit scarier, because then it's sort of like, well, is like, if I was in the situation, could I even trust what I was seeing?
Right. This is where Wetzel tells Mulder that he was firing at, quote, the wasp man, and relays this story that his brother told him about a man who was wasps. And Mulder suspects that they're not chasing a werewolf. He thinks that it knows what scares you, and this is a shape-shifting thing.
The dangerous soup.
The dangerous soup.
And this is when they decide to return to Stephen Eady's house, because if Mulder's suspecting that like they're after someone that takes the form of whatever someone fears, right? Like there seems to be some sort of chain, right? Some sort of progression. Stephen Eady is part of this chain. If this is real, even Scully acknowledges like, if there's a chain, if this is real, Stephen Eady are technically part of it. They were witness to one of these things. So they go back there.
Did they also say it worked kind of like an infection
Yeah,
too?
this is when they start to have the infection thought.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the idea that it's like passed from person to person and then they die from whatever they fear.
Right.
So they decide to return to Stephen Eady's because it seems like they would be the next victims if they weren't victims already. They hear screaming, but it's just a domestic argument. I really like the bit as they're approaching their house where like Mulder starts monologuing to the camera about all of this. And Scully is sort of like, I'm sorry, were you talking to me?
It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah.
And it's the perfect amount of just throwing it away that Anderson does that makes it a laugh out loud.
Yeah. Cause she's like not fucking engaging with this stuff. She is not trying to be like, I just want to pursue this case normal. I don't want to be on a TV show. And Mulder's like, I'm on television, baby. I'm part of this show now. I'm going to start. I love monologuing. I'm going to monologue to the camera now, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. I do also like that, like, Edie says that his biggest fear is that Steve will leave him. And they also talk about how they're not going to leave their home. They're not going to go to a hotel, that nothing can run them off, that this is home. This is safe. They're never going to leave. And it is about the very nature that they believe in this community. It is sort of the anti-fear. Like they show that strength. And I think that's ultimately why they are not targeted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I do think that like this episode doesn't have the time to delve into it a lot. And I don't know that I have a fully formed thought on it, but like the conversation about like what we colloquially define as like a bad neighborhood, quote unquote. And usually people who are living in those bad neighborhoods, I mean, there are going to be some people who are sort of like, yes, it's high crime. It feels dangerous to me. There's also going to be a lot of other people that sort of like,
this is my home.
No, it's just my home and my community. It just is, it is what it is. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like that they sort of represent that like the cops are constantly talking about how this is a high crime neighborhood. Even Mulder's sort of like, the reason this fear monster is here because it is a quote high crime neighborhood that everyone is fearful and everyone feels like it's dangerous. And yet you have this like couple, this like gay couple who like have every reason to be afraid of being targeted by someone, like more than a black gay couple, an older black gay couple, of anyone to feel endangered by just existing. They would be the ones to feel it, but they're the ones who are just sort of like, this is just my home, my community I've lived in forever, and we're happy here. Why would we be scared and want to leave the home that we've lived in forever? You know?
I also love too that Edie's fear, because like you kind of thinking like, oh, well, Edie is afraid of getting like stabbed by some stranger or something. No, it's that I'm scared that Steve will leave me. Yeah. And this monster can't really kill you with that fear, so it doesn't affect them.
It's like, bye.
Yeah. Right. I love that. It's really cool.
I also, knowing that Gilliam will go on to write some pretty amazing queer characters and queer characters of color, and this being like the first toe in the water of that, does make me really, really, really appreciate Steve and Edie. Like, these are amazing characters to come out of this episode.
Yeah, because like we haven't really talked about it, but like Edie is very like high femme, high camp, and then Steve is more of like the grounded of the two, but he's still definitely like has like gay, effeminate, quote unquote mannerisms, especially that were like stereotypical of the time. And I think like it so easily could have been just like pure parody, really funny. And we kind of get like a taste of that when we first meet Steve and Edie, because they just come off as like a comedic bickering couple, and that's all they're really going to be, very stereotypical stuff. And then we see such dimensionality and the fact that they are older and black and have been together for clearly so long. I think that also goes like a long way to establishing an emotional connection to them. And this is the year 2000. Like, homophobia is the main course of the day, you know, like that's what everyone is feeling. And I think like it so easily could have been different. So I really do appreciate this. It kind of, like we talked about this at the very beginning, but it does kind of remind me a little bit of when David Duchovny shows up in the first or second season of Twin Peaks back in the early 90s, and how that could have been extremely tasteless and offensive, but it's actually done pretty well. And it's kind of like nice moments to see along the path towards where we are now, and how representation works, and the societal pressures that we have to avoid that. It's nice to kind of see this and just be like, we've always been making art, or we've always been present in art, and we will always continue to be that.
Yeah, I think very well said. And I think on top of all of that, I think the fact that these aren't like, they're not like saccharine characters either, despite this all being about their love. Yeah. They're genuinely really fucking funny. They are. And they mine a lot of comedy out of Mulder and Scully just having to be in the middle of these two queens having a domestic argument. And like, it's like, they're not annoyed at them because they're like gay. They're annoyed that they're like in the middle of a case and have to be witness and hang around these people during a domestic argument. Like, there's a point where in the background, Scully's just like on the couch, really exhaustedly annoyed with her like hand on her fist, and like doesn't want to be there. And I'm like, you know what? I love these two, but I also would not want to be there just hanging out when I have so many better things to do, you know?
And the camera crew, and I think really keenly, we get to actually see a boom operator in the shot after we see Scully annoyed. Just to remind you. Just to remind you of that. I do want to say one last thing about Steve and Edie, and that is that for gay men of this age and who they base these characters on, these are two people who have lived through the AIDS crisis. And have watched friends and family be lost to HIV. And that is not their greatest fear. And I think that felt intentional from this writer. That didn't feel like an oops, I accidentally got it right. That felt like a very intentional decision, because I think a hack writer could have had them be afraid of a virus and they be the ones who fell victim to that.
It's very humanizing.
Yeah, I agree. They're great icons.
Yeah.
We get, okay, is it normal? Is there ever an episode of Cops where you go to someone in the morgue doing an autopsy?
No.
That feels like the one point in this episode where it's like, we've got to figure out something for Scully to do.
No, but
every other episode, Scully's in an autopsy like situation. So
it wouldn't surprise me if they followed an officer to like a morgue. But unless something happened, it was never going to make the cut, right? And that's the problem with how Cops is displayed. They only show the things that are fun to watch.
Yeah. And I guess Scully is a bit unusual from the norm in that she is both a law enforcement official and a doctor
Right.
who can perform an autopsy. So it justifiably, this is one of the rare occasions where they could follow one of their usual suspects into doing an autopsy.
Right.
I can see the logic.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And Mulder goes on his patrol with Wetzel, and this is where we get Mulder saying literally the line. There were a couple of these that were almost a little too on the nose, but I think that's what the world needed. Mulder literally says, the camera doesn't always tell the full story. Like, yes, the thesis of this reality television series laid bare.
Yeah. I think also that plus Scully seeing some cameramen and just saying, oh my God, there are more of you. Like there is some like hatred underneath this episode that they're for the show that they're crossing over with.
Yeah.
Honestly, my favorite Scully line in this whole episode is when she's in the morgue and the mortician or the coroner's assistant behind her is just like, okay, so what is with the cameras? Why should they really be filming this? And why are you letting this happen? And she just looks directly into the camera with the most annoyed smile on her face because the FBI has nothing to hide.
One night I'm going to wake up in a panic because I'm going to see that image in my head. It is a terrifying Scully.
Oh my God, the lighting, like it's so harsh. It's just...
Yeah. It's such a great way to like justify all of this. Like they even say it. I don't remember if we mentioned it or not, but like the fact that they call Skinner to be like, is this okay? And it's sort of like, the FBI has nothing to hide. It's all right, fine.
And you can almost hear Mitch Pileggi be like, well, we have nothing to hide. And then like hanging up the phone without saying goodbye. Derek's favorite thing about the X-Files.
No one... Yeah, I kept track of it watching all 11 seasons and all movies. Not a single time has anyone ever said goodbye before they hang up the phone. They hang up after saying a sentence or mid-conversation every time. No one says goodbye once on this entire show.
When I pick up my X-Files rewatch in 3 to 5 business months, I will keep track of that stuff.
Yeah. I would love to have missed one.
Yeah.
Because that would make it even funnier if it happens like one time.
That would be worse.
But on my watch, I never clocked a single time. They are always talking and just hang up the phone and walk away.
Yeah.
Incredible.
While Mulder is on the patrol with Wetzel's also doing this monologue about how dangerous the public is, which isn't just good for the satire of all of this, but Mulder's face is sort of inscrutably like, I'm listening to you, but I don't really agree with you. And that makes sense because to Mulder, the enemy is the government, not the public. And to Wetzel, the enemy is the public, not the government.
I've been on the job 18 months. All I ever want to do, right out of the gate, I get some kind of rep like I'm crazy. I mean, you know how cops are. How's somebody supposed to live that down?
I don't know. I guess just do good work.
I mean, it's a hard enough job already, you know? You want to help people, but it's like the freaking Wild West out here. You know, people hate you. I mean, every shift I go out thinking, go ahead. I go out thinking, you know, there is somebody out there who wants to take me out. Am I going to run into him tonight?
That is really interesting.
What a great call out. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, the whole thing about like, yeah, it's the Wild West out here. You know, people hate you when you're a cop. And I'm like, why do you think that is, buddy? Like, maybe you should interrogate that thought a little more.
Yeah. Get a different job.
Dig a little deeper there.
Yeah.
You almost got it. You're getting in a direction. Keep going.
Oh, bless.
We got the autopsy scene with Scully is like fun because she's working with this like assistant who is so paranoid, and like for just like Scully just like as an example like mentions that like it's not the hantavirus or whatever, and the assistant's like, why did you say hantavirus? Is it the hantavirus? What is the hantavirus? And then she gets the hantavirus and dies.
She starts hemorrhaging so fast. I mean, Scully brings it up later, like, this is not how fast viruses work. But like, she sneezes and then falls to the ground. And when the camera gets to her, she's covered in blood that has come out of her eyes, nose, and mouth. That kind of hemorrhage, like, if I was Scully, I would get the fuck out of there. Like, I would protect myself at this point in time. That is...
Scully's like, I've dealt with so many viruses. I've gotten stung by alien virus bees before. I'm fine.
That's true.
I will live forever.
That's true. But it was effective hemorrhaging. I to see that shot on film, or not shot on film, shot on videotape was so wild.
Yeah, it's a good effect.
Could you tell if there was a cut between when she went down and then when there was the blood on her face?
I couldn't, but you know what? I don't know how else they would have gotten that hemorrhaging.
It had to be.
It has to have been when the camera was moving around from one side of the mortician's table to the other. There has to have been a cut there where it was like it crossed over Jillian's like body or something like that, because they were talking about how like one of the reasons why they didn't want to use videotape is because it's hard to edit. And so I think that's that's such interesting like camera trickery.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Or if there wasn't a cut, maybe just like after they panned away, squirted a shit ton of blood on her face. And back.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know how effective that would have been.
What a great episode of television.
But you can do some truly great. I mean, it would have to be stage magic. Like we're talking like using the theater here, like because that's what you would have to do. But I could see it going either way because it looks really good. So I believe that it might be a cut, but I don't know.
They've done a lot of like sneaky cuts like that in this episode so far.
Yeah.
Like there's a couple like obvious ones, but there's a couple in there that are also just like, this feels like a runner, but it's just got small cuts in between.
Yeah.
Another thing that I did notice in the scene too, like because this is on Cops, you don't get the Mark Snow score. And like, I think it makes sense, obviously, but I noticed it so much in this scene because the fluorescent hum that you hear in the morgue is so loud, and like you wouldn't hear that normally because you get the X-Files score normally happening in the background, or it would be very, very quiet. And it's just like, it was such a good detail to include with that.
This is where like Scully and Mulder hook back up, and Scully's like, it can't be the hantavirus, it's just impossible. And then Mulder is like, I know what it is. It kills based on your mortal fears. And where else would you go but a high crime neighborhood?
Says the white man.
Says
right
on an episode of Cops, where else would you go but a high crime neighborhood?
Yeah.
Right. We see Wetzel back on patrol. He checks back at the house they broke into earlier, and then his flashlight goes out, the door slams closed before the camera cuts out, which is some Blair Witch shit.
That was scary as shit. That was scary as fuck.
I was like, nope. I did not like you, but you have to get out of here.
I do love more just like really just hammering in how much like they actually kind of hate the camera crew on Cops. Mulder and Scully show back up, find the camera crew hiding in a closet, terrified, and Scully's just like, oh, I hate you guys.
Yes.
And shuts the door back in their face.
Can I tell? I don't know, David, if you have this one cooked up somewhere, but those were two actual people from Cops.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
That's great. That's fun.
That's
very fun. So Scully really got to say to the people who work on Cops, I hate you guys.
Yeah. To be Julian Anderson in that moment.
Truly.
Right. But also we get a pretty effective sequence where Wetzel, they hear him screaming upstairs, but like we get a whole bunch of sounds from behind closed doors. We don't get to see anything happen. It's just Mulder and Scully like trying to break in or communicate with him or tell him to not be afraid, and to calm down. It feeds on his fear. We don't see any of it. We only see Mulder and Scully. We don't actually see any of the monster Wetzel stuff behind the door.
Yeah, I liked it because it ramped up the fear of all of it, which the X-Files is supposed to kind of scare you a little bit.
This felt very much like, okay, we saw the Blair Witch Project, now let's do our own spin on that.
Yes.
This
absolutely.
Crack House, big quotation marks around it, definitely feels like their version of the creepy cabin at the end of the movie. I love the door slamming shut on Mulder and Mulder being like, what the? Like, it's so blink and you'll miss it, but it was such like an effective, scary moment for me because Mulder is always so cool and chill, like as David Duchovny is in general, like just very flat affect. For him to have a moment where it was like, what the? It feels so effective to me. That whole scene, like there's a lot of tension going on there, and it's the second time Mulder drops the F-bomb.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's such a good point. Yeah, I mean, but I think it's also really interesting how quickly this really wraps up, and it's not uncommon to X-Files for it to just kind of be left open-ended, like they kind of resolve stuff but don't have any answers and don't know if this is the end of the story or not, and we'll never know. But I also think it's interesting for Cops because they obviously can't prove the paranormal on national television on this episode of Cops. So like you never actually see what's going on. It's always kind of a mystery. Wetzel survives. He's injured, but he's alive because he stopped being mortally afraid. And Mulder suspects that the thing will be back on the next full moon. Scully's like, well, I guess you didn't get the proof you wanted. And Mulder says, well, it all depends on how they edit it together.
So my question is, did they actually get proof of the monster? And it's a government cover-up that they infiltrated Cops and made them cut the episode out.
Right.
I'm going full lone gunman on this.
Yeah. I mean, this is never referenced again, so you can say that like Cops pulled the episode, or the episode of Cops got pulled and never aired. Yeah.
It does show earlier on, after Wetzel had done the shoot, like had fired off those rounds, like they did find one round and it had hit something. It had hit his target.
Yep.
And I think that is like one of the best kind of small scare moments in this that helps build that tension.
Yeah.
And like for it to end on this uncertain note, it feels like this might be one of the scarier episodes of the X-Files that I personally have seen.
Yeah,
so I really liked that. I really liked that ending. I also like the implication that it could spread. So it could also be anywhere else in the world. So really no one is safe from this thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's great.
Yeah.
Well, it's not how the episode actually ends, Tyler. Of course, the episode ends like every Cops episode ends, with the go out to credits and the radio dispatcher saying 132 in Bush. I've got him at gunpoint, which has aired for every episode of Cops since the second season.
So weird. Like,
why? I never noticed that.
It was just one of the pieces of radio chatter they got when they were in Oregon. 132 in Bush. I've got him at gunpoint. People go and visit it who are fans of the show.
Wow. You're weirdos, but sure.
Won't be going to that. Won't be going to that part of Oregon.
No, I would recommend not.
Yeah, no. This is a really good episode. I was a little bit not the happiest that this was the next episode of X-Files we're going to do, considering we've only done one other episode of X-Files, because there's a ton of gimmick episodes that I would love to do. But once we were actually doing the research on it and then rewatch it, it is like, this is a good episode of the show. Like one of the few good episodes from this season. Very inspired. And I do think that the sort of institution that both X-Files and Cops is and what they represent for the time period, like no other show has done a thing like this. Even shows that have done like reality show type crossovers, like this is so unique and singular in the history of TV that like, I do think we needed to do this episode, if only just to have the conversation about the phenomenon that was Cops too.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Great episode of TV. Vince Gilligan, the GOAT. I can't wait to watch War Pluribus whenever my TV finally gets along with me and lets me watch it without crashing.
Yeah. Last thing, I like Mulder's turtleneck and jacket combo.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I can't believe we skipped
I love that. But Scully is in her typical pantsuit. I kind of wish she had gotten like a special urban outfit to wear, like Mulder gets his
outfit.
It's like in a video game, like it's your urban skin.
Yeah. Well, you'll have
she gets to wear a jacket.
You'll have to wait
a blazer
for the next episode for Scully's video game outfit, because my Hulu was like, "Would you like to watch first person shooter?" And I couldn't get to the remote fast enough. I was like, "God, no."
Jesus. This episode comes between the Mulder finding his sister, or finding answers to his sister two-parter, and first-person shooter. Like, what a fucking just absolute, like,
what a strange oasis,
like, whiplash of episodes. If you were watching this week to week, especially.
Yeah. Well, Tyler, thank you so much for joining us for this bonkers one. Tell us more about where folks can find you and the other things you are up to out in the world.
Well, you can hear us pretty much every week on Fear Coded. That's what the show I co-host with David here and our dear friend Marilee, where we talk about a queer piece of media, or we talk about a piece of horror media and take a queer look at it through the lens of queer theory. You can also find me on Blue Sky at Call Up the Dead.
Thank you, Tyler. Derek, what about you?
Sure, you can find me most places at Derek B. Gale. My other podcasts include Walloping Web Snappers, where we do deep dives into every Spider-Man cartoon ever made, Screonk, where we're going through the Godzilla's filmography, and Lee Carvalho's Potting Challenge, where we go through the Simpsons tie-in video games. What about you, David?
Yeah, you can find me online almost anywhere as Dmuma. That's D-M-U-M-A. And Tyler took half my plugs away, but I can also be heard this season on Super Mario Moment, where recently I gave my opinion on Chris Pratt's performance as Mario. And spoiler alert, I didn't like it.
Gimmicks is a proud part of the Glitterjaw Queer Podcast Collective. If you're looking for other queer media podcasts, check out the full roster of Glitterjaw shows at glitterjaw.com. Want to make sure we plug that there is an X-Files podcast with Glitterjaw now that started relatively recently. It is called Little Dead Aliens. It is hosted by our friend Ben, who is new to the Glitterjaw sphere, but his premise for it isn't just going through every episode of X-Files. It is specifically looking at every Monster of the Week X-Files episode and looking at the horror movies that are sort of related to the aesthetics and vibes and tropes and concepts. So if you want a lot of really good horror movie recommendations, absolutely check out that podcast. If you're a fan of X-Files, absolutely check out that podcast. And if you're a fan of Glitterjaw, check out that podcast. I've been on it already. Doug's been on it already. I know that there's other Glitterjaw folks that are lined up for episodes. So absolutely check that out if you liked our conversation about the X-Files.
Yeah. I have claimed an episode to discuss on Little Dead Aliens, so you'll also be hearing me at some point in the not too distant future.
Yes.
Nice.
Well, if you want to support this show by giving us a little tip, you can buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/gimmickspod. You can also follow the podcast at GimmicksPod on Blue Sky and Instagram, and email us your questions, feedback, and corrections to gimmickspodcast@gmail.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe on all podcast platforms, and until next time, friends, keep being weird.
Why did you have the X on me? Don't you know you're a human being? Born of a mother with the love of a father. Reflection comes and reflection goes. I know sometimes you wanna let go. Hey, 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 I know sometimes you wanna let go. Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do?
Oh, God. More of you? Hate you guys.